What if I told you that a peaceful Catholic community, a community full of families, children, daily prayers, and centuries-old tradition, was just shut down by their own bishop? What if I told you that priests loyal to the church were silenced, not for rebellion, but for holding on to the same Mass their grandparents celebrated? Would you believe it? Stay with us to the very end of this video, because what you're about to hear is not just another church story, it's a sign of the times, and it may change how you see the struggle between tradition and modern authority in today's church. Once again, a faithful and vibrant community is being quietly pushed to the margins. In Valence, a city in the Drôme region of France, Catholics deeply rooted in traditional practices now find themselves cast aside by a sudden decision. This is not a group looking for confrontation. These are families, children, and priests. People who have lived out their faith in peace and humility. For over 30 years, the priestly fraternity of St. Peter, FSSP, served this community faithfully, offering the traditional Latin Mass, catechism, daily confessions, and Eucharistic adoration. But now, all of it is coming to an abrupt end. The local bishop, Francis Durand, has announced that this mission will officially be closed starting September 1st. The notice was quietly posted on the diocesan website in early July. It stated that all pastoral activity of the FSSP would cease, including catechism classes that serve dozens of families weekly. The official reason given was a lack of pastoral unity. Behind these words lies a deeper tension. The core of the disagreement stemmed from the FSSP priests choosing not to concelebrate the Chrism Mass, a once-a-year liturgy during Holy Week that serves as a visible expression of unity among diocesan clergy. Their refusal was not a rebellious act, but one grounded in both tradition and church law. According to Canon 902, no priest is required to concelebrate. Even the Vatican has confirmed multiple times that this practice must remain voluntary. And yet, in Valence, the priest's respectful refusal was seen as defiance. The bishop didn't attempt to dialogue or find a solution. Instead, he moved to dissolve the entire mission. But the faithful didn't respond with anger or outrage. They responded with prayer. Within hours of the announcement, families began gathering at Notre Dame Church. They prayed, fasted, and stayed in adoration before the Blessed Sacrament. This wasn't organized by leaders or groups. It was organic, coming from the heart of the people. Tents were pitched outside the church. The fast, as of this recording, has gone on for more than a month. They didn't scream. They didn't protest. They simply prayed. They responded the way generations of saints before them responded, with silent trust. To understand why this is happening, you need to know more about the FSS. The priestly fraternity of St. Peter was established in 1988 and is officially recognized by the Vatican as a clerical society of pontifical right. That means it answers directly to Rome, not to local bishops. When it was founded, it was given full permission to use the traditional liturgical rites, especially the 1962 Roman Missal, which predates the changes made by the Second Vatican Council. Things became more complicated in 2021, when Pope Francis issued the Motu Proprio Traditionis Custodes, which gave local bishops the authority to limit or suppress the traditional Latin Mass. Then, in 2022, Pope Francis sent a personal letter to the FSSP allowing them to continue using the old rites. But that letter was never published officially and lacked formal legal weight. This has created widespread confusion. Some dioceses follow the letter, others ignore it completely. In Valence, Bishop Durand didn't revoke the rights of the FSSP. He simply said their work was no longer in line with the direction of the diocese. In other words, they were shut down without being disbanded. And Rome remained silent. Sadly, this story isn't unique. From France to Mexico, from the United States to Europe, traditional Catholic communities are facing increasing restrictions. Many are thriving, drawing young families, fostering vocations, and preserving the sacred beauty of the Latin Mass, and yet they are being removed, not for wrongdoing, but for holding to tradition. At the same time, priests and communities who teach against the gospel or embrace secular ideologies often face little to no opposition. The contrast is striking. When Pope Leo was elected, many hoped this would signal a renewed respect for tradition, a shift back toward unity and reverence. But since then, there has been no public statement from the Vatican addressing these painful closures. No correction, no clarification, just silence. And so, the people of Valence remain. They kneel on cold ground. They pray in silence. They fast, not to protest, but as a gift to God. Their witness is quiet but powerful. It reminds us that the Church is not simply a hierarchy. It is a people united in faith and truth and in love for Christ. They remember what they've received. They know the beauty of the traditional liturgy. They know the truths passed down through generations. They are not clinging to the past. They are holding on to the eternal. They don't wave flags. They don't post angry videos. They don't seek attention. They simply adore. They offer their hearts. They remain because they believe. Even if the doors are locked, even if the altar stands empty, the true church lives on. It is not built of stone, but of souls. Souls who believe. Souls who stay. Souls who trust that Christ remains even in the silence. And maybe, just maybe, their witness will awaken the conscience of the church. Maybe one day the silence from Rome will break. Maybe one day these communities will be welcomed again, not as relics of the past, but as lights for the future. But even if that day never comes, they will not give up, because they are not following trends, they are following Christ. So now the question is, what about you? What will you do? If this story moved you, if it echoes something deep in your heart, let the world know. Comment Amen below to show your support for these faithful Catholics. Share this video so others can see the truth that often goes unnoticed. And most importantly, pray. Pray for the church. Pray for the bishops. Pray for the Pope. Pray for all those who feel abandoned and forgotten, that they may continue to find strength, peace, and grace. Because in the end, the church is not saved by politics, by power, or by silence. It is saved by faith, humble, quiet, and unshakable faith. God bless you. And may we all have the courage to stand in the truth, even if we must stand alone. The story of Valence is one of many, but it's more than just news. It's a reflection of the Church's soul in our times. And what it reveals is something profound: the tension between progress and permanence, between obedience and conscience, between a church that adapts and a church that remembers. We often hear the phrase, "the church must change with the world." But sometimes the most radical witness is to not change, to remain still when everything else is shifting. The Catholics in Valence didn't chase trends. They didn't adapt for applause. They remained rooted, and in doing so, they became unshakable. Maybe that's what this moment is really about. Not just a bishop's decision, not just a group of displaced families, but a test of faith for all of us. Will we stay faithful when it costs us? Will we still kneel when no one else does? Will we carry the light even when it's not welcome? To the young Catholics watching, maybe you've never attended a Latin Mass. Maybe you don't know what the FSSP is. But here's what matters. These communities represent something the world is starving for: reverence, beauty, silence, and sacrifice. Don't ignore it. Lean in, ask questions. Visit a Mass that stretches back centuries. You might just find something your soul has been craving. In a time when faith is often watered down or made convenient, these communities are offering something harder, but deeper. They're not chasing followers, they're chasing holiness. It's easy to feel defeated, it's tempting to grow bitter or give up. But remember this: every trial in church history has been followed by renewal. When the saints were misunderstood, they stayed. When truth was unpopular, they preached. When the church looked like it was falling apart, God raised it up stronger than before. Maybe we're in that kind of moment now, a pruning, not a punishment, a testing, not a tearing down. And maybe your quiet faith, your humble prayer, your trust in the old ways, maybe that's exactly what the church needs most. So don't click away from this video and forget. Remember Valence. Remember the tents. Remember the fast. Remember the families who are kneeling right now, unseen by the world but seen by heaven. They need your voice. They need your prayers. They need to know they're not alone. And maybe you needed this story too. Maybe you've been unsure, tired, or spiritually numb. Let their witness remind you the faith is still alive, still beautiful, still worth everything. So light a candle, say a rosary. Go to Mass, even if it's hard. And know that, across the world, you're joined by a hidden army of believers who are choosing Christ, no matter the cost. May God strengthen the people of Valence. May He bless the silent defenders of truth around the world. And may He